Now, let us discuss about the causation of loss in fire insurance. Assuming that there is a fire within the meaning of the policy, it must then be decided whether the fire was the proximate cause of the damage. One issue of particular relevance to fire policies is whether damage caused by efforts to arrest or extinguish a fire may be said to be caused by the fire. Although loss or damage may have occurred to the property of the insured by reason of efforts made to avert or extinguish a fire, and not by reason of the fire itself, it by no means follows that the loss is not proximately caused by the fire. Thus, in Stanley versus Western Insurance Company, a very old case decided back in 1868, Justice Kelly said, I agree that any loss resulting from an apparently necessary and bona fide effort to put out a fire, whether it be by spoiling the goods by water or throwing the article of the furniture out of a window or even destroying of a neighboring house by an explosion for the purpose of checking the progress of the flames. In a word, every loss that clearly and proximately results, whether directly or indirectly from the fire, is within the policy. So it means that the insured can recover in these situations. So we can say that if there was reasonable justification for the measures taken to avert damage by fire, damage to property caused by water or demolition is covered as damage by fire. It has been held in Canada that even if such avoiding action results in a peril which is expressly accepted by the policy, the insurer may still be liable. Thus, in Glen Falls Insurance Company versus Spencer, a Canadian case, a motor car was insured against fire but not against collision. A fire broke out in the dashboard, and while the insured was trying to put it out, the car collided with a tree and was totally destroyed by the fire. The Supreme Court of New Brunswick held by a majority that the fire was the proximate cause of the entire loss. Another consequence of fire may be that property is removed from a building in order to preserve it or to deprive the fire of inflammable material. If such property is damaged by being left out in bad weather or by being thrown down from a window, such damage may be recoverable under a fire policy. So, in certain circumstances, the insured's willful act of destroying or damaging the insured property will be justified and will not affect his or her insurance claims. If the willful act of the insured was done for the purpose of avoiding a peril insured against, the loss may be recoverable since it may be said to result from the operation of the peril rather than from the free volition of the insured, as where certain property is destroyed in order to check a wider conflagration. It has been suggested in ancient treatises on insurance by foreign writers that if a willful burning is not done solely to obtain insurance money but is otherwise justifiable, it is a loss by fire for which recovery may be had under the policy. And Emery Gone on a marine policy said, for instance, that an insurer on a marine policy was liable where the ship was deliberately burned to prevent plague spreading. The modern law, however, is not so wide as that, and in Gordon versus Remington, where a vessel was set alight to avoid her capture by enemy forces, and recovery was permitted for a loss by fire, it is clear that Lord Ellenborough regarded the action of the crew as being one which they were bound to take out of the duty to the state. Although the court described it as a loss by fire, the case is better explained as concerning a loss by enemy action. It could not be said, for instance, that if bedding or furniture were set alight after an infectious illness, such loss would be recoverable from the insurers as a loss by fire. But if it were done by order of competent medical authorities, the loss could well be recoverable under some other head of a comprehensive policy. A claim will not be defeated by the willful act of the insured's family members, servants, or agents, provided that it was not done with the privity or consent of the insured. It was decided in General Accident Fire and Life Insurance Corporation versus Midland Bank Limited in 1940. If the insured's wife or some other member of his household, without his connivance, burns his property, the insured will be able to recover. But remember that where a corporation is insured, it cannot recover if the fire was willfully caused by one of its principal officers, because the principal officers actually represent the corporation. What about the negligence of the insured? If the proximate cause of the loss is fire, it is immaterial, irrelevant, in the absence of relevant warranties that the fire has been caused by the negligence of the insured or his servant. Thus, in Harris versus Poland, I have already discussed that case where the insured hid her jewelry in a grate and later forgot that she had done so and lit a fire there. It was held that she was entitled to recover under a fire policy for the resulting damage. But if the insured refuses to take obvious precautions to prevent or stop a fire, for instance, if he or she lifts a coal that has fallen out of the grate, or a candle shade that has caught alight to set fire to the house, it might be argued that he or she is not entitled to recover because his or her conduct can be interpreted as an unjustified, willful act which caused the damage. So, the insurer cannot rely on any negligent act of the insured except as evidence of a willful act.